All right, homework 7 is on writing equations of parabolas. So we're going to make sure that you've got the actual equations down right here with everything labeled. So we have P, H, and K. So the center or the vertex is HK. So that's this point right here. And then we have these two distances, right? So this distance right here is P. And then this, if you're counting just a distance, you'd say P, but an actual count value, you'd say that's negative P. And so we can repeat by just kind of flipping everything over here. So this, the vertex is H comma K, and then these are basically the same sort of distances. So off to the left would be a negative P, off to the right would be a positive P. All right, so now let's get our standard form equations. So vertical starts with an x minus h squared equals 4p times the quantity y minus k. And then in this one, we just swap the x minus h with the y minus k. So in this one, you have the y minus k squared, and then 4p times the quantity x minus h. So those are your two formulas. The first thing that you want to figure out is which of the two it is, vertical or horizontal, and then that way you can figure out which equation you're trying to match when you create these. So let's start with number 1. So first of all, this opens to the left, so it is definitely going to be a horizontal parabola, so you know you're looking to match this one right here. So just based on picture alone, you know it's definitely horizontal. You'll also notice that it opens to the left. So the fact that it opens to the left means that P is going to be a negative value. Okay, so let's start with the value of the vertex. You can see the vertex, like the furthest point here, that's actually right at the origin. That's 0, 0. So this is going to be a slightly simpler equation, but this process works the exact same whether this is your vertex or this is or this is. And so for these 4 graphs, you either have the focus plotted on there or you have the directrix plotted on there. Either way you go, that's going to give you the value of P. And P is either a positive or negative value depending on which direction you go. All right, so P, you can see that you count 1, 2, 3, 4 units to the left. Since you're going to the left, that makes it negative, but you still use the value of 4. Okay, so we need a 4p in our equation. So if I multiply both sides of this by 4, then I end up with negative 16. So that's the value that's going to end up going right here in our equation. So we have y minus k. So this is k and this is h. So we have just a y minus 0. So I'm just going to write that as y squared equals, and then for the 4p, we're plugging in a negative 16, and this is x minus h. But again, h is 0, so x minus h is just x. So we can write it like that. Okay, so the rest of these will get a little bit more complex, but you're basically just doing the exact same process here. All right, so let's look at the next page. I want to do one that doesn't just have 0, 0, so I'm going to skip over 5 and 6. Let's go on to the next page and look at number 7. So we've got our vertex, our focus. This is basically like looking at a graph, except the information is just given to you. So this is H, this is K. You'll notice here that the vertex and the focus have the same x coordinate. So what that means is that from this vertex, your focus goes up 1 point. So the fact that the focus goes up makes this a vertical parabola rather than a horizontal parabola. So make sure you know that information first. So it's definitely going to be a vertical parabola. And I mentioned, so the vertex had a y value of negative 5. The focus goes up to a value of negative 5. So if the focus goes up, that means the parabola opens up. That's going to help us set up our equation as well. Okay, so look at this distance. This is a negative 5. We go up just 1 unit. So if you go up just a single unit, then P would be a positive 1. The up makes it positive. The distance itself is where the 1 comes from. So for our equation, we need a 4P. So multiply both sides of this by 4. And that's what we end up with. And then the vertex is just handed right to you. So this is vertical, which means you start with x minus h. And h is a negative 6. This turns into plus 6. Next thing on the right-hand side is the 4p, which we just decided was a 4. And then we have y minus the y value of the vertex, which is a negative 5. So this is our formula right here. I want to do one that has the focus and the directrix. So let's do number 13. Okay, so for 13, we've got the focus and the directrix. All right, so you'll see that the directrix is a y equals, and that's going to make a difference. If you look back at our graphs here, here the directrix is a y equals for our vertical parabolas. Here the directrix is an x equals. That makes it a horizontal parabola. So immediately upon seeing that the directrix is a y equals, you know that it must be a horizontal parabola. Okay, so this, we know it's horizontal. And then with this one, the directrix is up at a +6. The focus is down here at a y value of -6. So you know it must be down because the directrix is up above and the focus is down below. So it must mean that our graph is opening down. Whoops, I was saying, okay, I'm sorry about the horizontal. I kept talking about this one and then for some reason I wrote down horizontal. So I apologize. Let's make sure we've got that right. Horizontals don't even go up and down. So sorry, it's vertical and we know that it opens down based on this. Okay, so we've got all that information. So what you can do is you can go halfway in between the focus and the directrix, and you know that that's going to land you at your center. Okay, so that would be a good way to figure out how you could solve for those. So we take this y value and this y value, and you're just taking the average of them, sort of like the midpoint formula, but only half of it. All right, so -6 + 6 is 0. Divide that by 2 gives us 0. Okay, so the focus has the same x value as our center or our vertex since it's vertical. So the focus and the vertex have the same x value, and then we just figured out halfway in between these two must be the y value. So this one is actually centered at 0, 0. Okay, and then we figured out since we are going 6 units down to get to the focus, that means that P must be a -6. So knowing that P is a -6, multiply both sides by 4 to get that quotient, that constant that's supposed to be in the equation, and then we can just sub all that information in. All right, so since we know that it's just a 0, 0, x minus h is now just an x squared, 4p is a -24, and y minus k is just a y. So this is 0, this is 0, based on what we have for the vertex. So that is our equation.